Determination is euphoric. It's a feeling I endlessly crave, and it is the representation of that feeling that enthralled me as a viewer with Eren Yeager. This scene is a lot more than just a hype moment. It's an iconic, in the truest sense of the word, larger than life depiction of determination. Determination is such a feverish, intense, swirling feeling that sets you ablaze during times of struggle, because that's the only time you can feel it. You can't feel determined when you're comfortable. You can't feel determined when you're passive. No, that thrill, that mania of determination is something we only feel when we struggle, when we face discomfort, when we fight.
いや、もうあれしかない。リハリハに続け。
アルミ、私たちも。
I run occasionally, and no, I'm not particularly good at it, not by any stretch of the imagination. My goal is to simply push myself, to keep going, step after step. But when you're pushing yourself to your physical or mental limit into this personal hell of yours, voices rage on in your head. There's the one telling you to stop, to take a rest. There's the one telling you to endure and to keep going no matter what. And yeah, those two are certainly the loudest, but there's always a third one in the back of your head, whispering, you can go faster. That's the burden of your own expectations. That burden is the discomfort, the struggle, and the fight which drives determination. And the Trust arc is all about Eren taking up this burden. I think it is no coincidence that Eren becomes this spitting image of Atlas, the Greek titan punished with holding up the weight of the world. Eren, in much the same way, takes on the weight of the boulder, a symbol of humanity's hope. But it's not the symbolic similarities that make this imagery interesting. It's the differences and the subtle implications from those differences. Eren, unlike Atlas, chose this burden. He pushes himself into hell, whether it leads to hope or another hell. To him, that's freedom, his primal desire. And to me at least, that resonates. Eren doesn't hold up the boulder indefinitely. He's not imprisoned by means of it. In this moment, Eren may be sealing the wall, but in reality, this is his first step to cracking it wide open.
みんな死んだ甲斐があったな。
An early criticism of Eren's character stemmed from the expectation that as a typical shonen protagonist, victory will just come to him. Scream louder, power up, and win. Evidently, that is not the case. Attack on Titan's world continuously and mercilessly beats Eren down, both physically and psychologically. In as little as a few months, both squads he was assigned to were all but completely wiped out. He was thrust into the role of becoming humanity's savior, and his naive worldview was shattered by the revelation that Annie is the female Titan. And the Clash of the Titans arc just keeps pushing Eren to his limits. Reiner, someone he admired, reveals himself to be the armored Titan, humanity's biggest threat. Losing to him forces the Survey Corps into a desperate rescue mission, consequently leaving them overwhelmed by the Titans. Even Mikasa becomes too injured to stand, let alone fight. And throughout all of that, Eren is completely powerless. So when Hana's, who's essentially a surrogate father and the last remaining bit of childhood left for the main trio, gets devoured by the same Titan that killed his mother, it only makes sense that Eren completely breaks down.
俺はあの日常が好きだ。あの何でもない日常を取り戻すためだったら俺は何でもする。どんだけ時間がかかってもな。お前ら3人が揃ってねえと俺の日常は戻らないからな。
In the most cruel sense, the world of Attack on Titan is giving Eren one big, massive, titanic fuck you, which makes his psychotic laughter filled with anguish, pain, frustration, and self-hatred perfect. What's the point in even trying anymore? What's the point in carrying this burden? This is the low point, which is where the scene takes a turn. In this final moment, Mikasa tries to comfort Eren. It is one of the most beautiful moments in the entire show.
生き方を教えてくれてありがとう。
If there was ever any point Attack on Titan could have finished early, it would be here. And the music makes it feel like that would be alright.
マフラーを巻いてくれてありがとう。
Because what we're listening to, this melody, this leitmotif, is in part about acceptance. But what this leitmotif isn't about is giving up. No, it's about perseverance, finding the resolve to fight.
何度でも巻いてやる。これからもずっと戦士として最後まで責任を果たすことだ。ライダー、やるんだな。今ここで。勝負は今ここで決める。
Carrying on from determination, this scene represents perseverance, another one of Eren's defining qualities as a protagonist. So let's veer off from Attack on Titan for just a second. It's 2 AM, and the distractions you've been relying on all day stop coming in. You're too tired to continue playing, and all your friends are already offline. You look around your messy room and you realize your life is kind of shit. You feel a surge of determination. You're not tired at all anymore. It's time to get to work. 50 push-ups later, you move on to sit-ups, thinking to yourself that from now on, you're going to do better. And you do. But before you know it, you're back to the same old routine. In the end, nothing has changed. You haven't changed. You're the same worthless, useless sack of shit you always were. So what's the point in even trying anymore? What's the point of setting expectations for yourself? This is the low point. This scene conveys that humans struggle for change so well. The emotional breakdown, the self-loathing laughter, the emptiness, to standing up one more time. It hit, man. But there's another reason I like this scene so much, and I think I'd be wasting a massive opportunity by not talking about it. It's about Mikasa's impact on Eren. Now, I'm not an Eren Mika shipper. That's surface level shit, Mikasa confessing to Eren. It's cute, but it's not really important. This scene begins to shift Eren's character in a subtle but very important way. It's where the series starts to dig deeper into what Eren's resolve is built on, or in other words, what is Eren's purpose. Up until now, Eren's resolve was always tied to emotional outbursts, but as we all know, rage doesn't serve Eren well. It's part of every AOT video essay. Simply put, when Eren's resolve comes from lashing out in anger, he loses. He lost to Annie. At first he was losing to Reiner. He fails to gain Ymir's trust, and now, as angry as he could possibly be, he's losing to the Smiling Titan. So if Eren's resolve, his emotional outbursts at the cruel world, gets snuffed out, what else is there?
何のために生きる意味なんてもうどこにもないのに何が私をエレンありがとうごめんなさいエレン
何度でも巻いてやる
私はもう諦めない二度と諦めない死んでしまったらもうあなたのことを思い出すことさえできないだから何としてでも勝つ何としてでも生きるうわ
These two scenes beautifully parallel each other in a visual and narrative sense. Visually, both feature undeniably the most David vs. Goliath imagery in the whole show. Both reinforce emotions through pathetic fallacy, and both really come together with the use of the soundtrack. From a narrative perspective, Eren and Mikasa undergo a very similar development here. However, it's not the same development. It's more so complementary, like yin and yang. When Mikasa learns of Eren's presumed death, she, like Eren, undergoes an emotional breakdown. Reflecting on her life, she recalls the cruel memories of losing her family, but also the beautiful ones, notably when Eren wrapped the scarf around her. This evokes her belief that this world is cruel and astonishingly beautiful, a sentiment that is as defining to her as no regrets is to Levi, or someone who can't sacrifice anything, can't ever change anything, is to Armin. Having accepted the cruelty of the world, she's ready to resign herself to fate. Or so she thought. To her own surprise, she hasn't fully given up, because ingrained into her very psyche lies one more philosophy. If you lose, you die. If you win, you live. If you don't fight, you can't win. In a moment of clarity symbolized by the sun breaking through the clouds, this mantra of absolute defiance and perseverance reignites her will to fight. In Season 2, Mikasa has the opportunity to be the catalyst Eren needs to make this exact same realization. Here, the scene's mood, music, and visuals all come to reflect Eren's mental state. When Mikasa calls out to Eren, she serves to break the silence after Hannes' death.
エレン
Ominous violins join in, and her smile tells 1,000 words. Mikasa accepted their fate, which further devastates Eren. As the scene darkens around them, we cut to gruesome images of Hannes' fate.
伝えたいことがある。
This is the end for them. However, Mikasa continues, and in turn the tone of the music shifts from dire to perplexing, mirroring Eren's confusion.
私に生き方を教えてくれて
Mikasa isn't finished yet.
ありがとう。
As Mikasa edges closer and closer to a confession, the music begins to rise. The violence returned and now playing that beautiful leitmotif.
マフラーを巻いてくれてありがとう。
And the light floods back into the scene, spotlighting the beauty of the nature around them. And from Eren's perspective, Mikasa herself. At her lowest, Mikasa drew strength from Eren's words to fight against the cruel world. Now, Eren is reminded by Mikasa of another reason to fight. Not out of hatred, but out of love.
そんなもん何度でも巻いてやる。これからもずっと俺が何度でも。
We did this to find purpose in our meaningless lives.
We all die, but does that mean our lives are meaningless? Does that mean that there was no point in our being born?
I shouldn't have asked. Power never should have been given to me. I can't be humanity's hope. I'm just too weak.
You know dying here won't make anything better!
And then it's my mission to bring him back.
From the right.
So, why are we
I made
here?
a mistake when I
I'll
chose
tell
the
you
rich
why.
wrong that you ordered us to do.
Now on.
I mean,
Count
we
on me.
became soldiers
That's a
to
promise.
protect people.
It's all for a brand
So
dream.
now it's my sacred duty to bring God back to this world.
If that's
and
my
then
duty,
to
then
offer up my
I'll do
prayers.
it!
Another must take on the role, pay for our sins, even in death, even after you chose to start this story.
Of luck.
Whether this is forced on me, it's really up to me to decide. While my fate is still my own, I want to put everything I have on the line.
Season 3 Part 1, or the Uprising arc going forward, may as well be all about the team of Purpose. To be clear, Purpose isn't just some background team or a subtle idea, it's present everywhere. The new Levi squad, they're forced to grapple with the fact that from now on their purpose no longer revolves around killing mindless monsters. Hanji, her devotion to spreading the truth becomes her number one priority. Levi's choice is made crystal clear: human conflict over Titan reign. And what about Erwin? His life's purpose is revealed to be not some grand altruistic mission, but a selfish desire to vindicate his father's theories, setting up his final hurrah. But let's not forget the side characters who embody this team of purpose just as much. Marlowe, Hitch, Flock, the journalists, the Tross Company's boss, Demo Reeves, and his son Flegel aren't just filler characters. Every one of them meaningfully adds to this overarching team of purpose. Naturally, the antagonists follow suit. The Council of Humanity and the Interior Police dedicate themselves to maintaining peace no matter the moral sacrifice. Kenny finds purpose and meaning in chasing the power of the Founding Titan in hopes of understanding Yuri. And of course, there's Rod Reese, who's devoted himself to bringing back the God of the Walls. In every decision, conflict, and character development, purpose isn't present, it's vital. To say purpose is just an underlying theme of this arc wouldn't even be close to doing it justice. It's the lifeblood of this season. So considering how Eren, the protagonist, plays into this team, we reach a problem. He doesn't. At least not like most of the cast. We already know Eren's purpose for a long time, and no matter what mental gymnastics you try to pull, his purpose hasn't changed in any meaningful sense since Trost, which leads to one of two conclusions. Either I'm full of it and the Uprising arc isn't about purpose, or Eren's development addresses this team in a different, more interesting way. Perhaps an idea that meaningfully comments on society. Ooh, foreshadowing. Keep watching. Obviously, I wouldn't be writing this if I thought I was onto nothing. So indulge me as we bring in the missing piece of the puzzle, and it uncoincidentally the star of this season into the conversation: Historia. Historia, since the Clash of the Titans arc, has been undergoing a tremendous amount of character development for a character as one note as she started off as. And this comes into its full effect in the Uprising arc, where she undeniably, at least for a time, becomes the deuteragonist of this story. Unsurprisingly, with this much prominence, her development becomes completely intertwined with Eren's, to the utter devastation of every Eren Mika shipper. As such, discussing Eren's development without Historia would be like going for a nice car ride without your keys. You ain't getting far. And this season-long ride starts right in the aftermath of the Clash of the Titans arc, so buckle in. In the wake of the desperate rescue mission, many soldiers sacrifice their lives for Eren's sake, adding to the growing mental burden Eren has to uphold as humanity's supposed saviour. However, Eren isn't the only one trying to come to terms with what just transpired. Historia, who's become dependent on Ymir's unconditional love and support, enters a state of complete distress in her absence. Not that either of them have much time to dwell on this, as both now find themselves with a massive target on their back. This sets the stage for the events of the Uprising arc, where the anime notoriously restructures the more drawn out events of the manga. To improve the pacing, many scenes were heavily adjusted or cut in their entirety. For the most part, these changes are inconsequential to the story at large, except for one. Originally, before any of the major events of the season take place, Historia is made brutally aware that whether she likes it or not, the Survey Corps will force her into the role of queen. If you ever wondered why Historia is scared shitless of Levi at the end of the season, it's because originally Levi strangles her into submission. This simple chronological change can recontextualize the entire climax of the season at the Race Cavern, so keep it in mind. There, in the cavern, Rod Reese unveils the harrowing memories of what happened on that day 5 years ago, the day Wall Maria fell and the day Grisha Yeager stole the Founding Titan. This revelation breaks Eren. He's tormented by the sins of his father and the crushing realization that he was never special. Meanwhile, Historia, having just lost Ymir, is forced to re-experience the same kind of loss, having learned that Frida was also killed by Eren's father. In killing Eren, Historia could take the easy way out, maintain the status quo, connect with Frida, and once again have a father. Here's where the seemingly trivial chronological change in the anime adaptation plays a massive role in understanding Historia's character. Historia, having seen past Rod Reese's emotional manipulation, still has to make a choice. And if you've only watched the anime, it would be easy to understand her choice as choosing between the shackles of responsibility and the freedom of non-conformity. But that's not the choice Historia makes. Originally, she knew that whether she sided with her father or the Survey Corps, her purpose would be to become queen. This decision plays a major part into one of the most significant themes of Attack on Titan, the burden of expectations. But more on that later. The real dilemma from this decision is in choosing how Historia should live out her purpose. Whether she'll take the easy way out and perpetuate the corrupt status quo set by the royal family, or take on the hardships, responsibility, and accountability of sticking true to herself. It's why we see flashbacks to Ymir, a character full of contradictions when observed through the lenses of selfishness or selflessness. Ymir tells Historia to live a proud life, and that's exactly what she does. In refusing the Founding Titan, Historia refuses to sacrifice her own pride and identity. Despite not being free from expectations, Historia took her destiny into her own hands. Historia's actions unshackle Eren, physically and figuratively. It's from this point onwards, after having his ego completely broken down, that Eren begins to rebuild himself by himself. And just like Historia, Eren rises to his responsibility, but now in a way true to himself.
Worse it means you're bigger, bigger. Why do you hide? I was cheaper, cheaper. It's suicide. Just get out alive. When everyone wants go right, we are bigger.
I really hate that I do this to you all the time, but you've gotta make a choice.
Now you are a part of me. I will defend and honor thee. Did you think that you could die a hero? Our awakening is less than zero. Not enough.
For the first time, Eren believes in himself, without being blinded by rage and without delusions of self-grandeur. Skipping to the mission atop the wall, we get a bit more insight into Eren's mental state at this point. Despite his momentary breakthrough, he's still full of self-doubt. He acknowledges Historia's true strength in choosing the path of most resistance, while berating himself for doing the opposite, for accepting comfortable lies and shielding himself from reality, for not questioning whether or not he was special, and for accepting the sacrifices of others as unavoidable. While lamenting the fate of the district below and pitying himself, Eren makes a realization as he looks around. Out of all the people around him, he's the only one concerned about being special or not. Pulling a move all guys do at least once in their life, Eren beats the shit out of himself. He quits the self-pitying, and in a nice anime-only edition, he steps it up with some fake it till you make it bravado.
頼りないかもしれねえけど、人類には切り札があるってことだ。
あれは
In summary, Eren gets humbled hard this arc, but in the end he found the humility to see himself for who he is, a normal person with a special power. But that is to overlook one last development Eren undergoes this season. Episode 48, Bystander, tells the account of Keith Shadis and his past with Grisha Yeager. It's also the best time to finally talk about one of Attack on Titan's most reoccurring themes, the burden of expectations. From Hannah's having to face Eren after failing to save Carla, to Armin living up to the responsibility of becoming Erwin's successor. The story of Keith Shadis, to paraphrase him, is of a man who falsely came to see himself as special. The burden of expectations Grisha placed on him led him to continually overestimate himself and ultimately to his ruin. In his final exchange with Grisha, he warned him not to burden Eren with those same expectations that cursed him for so many years, to which Grisha rather coldly tells him to fuck off. This serves as another important parallel between Eren and Historia. Both were burdened with the expectations of their father. Historia by the virtue of being born of royal blood, and Eren upon inheriting the founding titan. And in both cases, they could only rise to those expectations by embracing their authentic selves. But this episode also serves to give Eren one more perspective, from his mother. Although Eren's purpose itself didn't change, Eren's character significantly changed to become worthy of it. The burden of expectations of achieving success is a common struggle. We all face pressures, whether it's from friends, parents, teachers, society, and whatever else. Yet the burden of expectations and success is also something we place on ourselves. The times you don't like what you see in the mirror, or your report card or payslip or anything else, you once again hear that ever-present whisper at the back of your head taunting you, you could be better. When that burden of expectations gets too heavy, when reaching your goals becomes too difficult, you start wanting an excuse to give up. Some people come to resent the very notion of success, because others pushed it onto them. They harbour bitterness towards people who've succeeded where they have failed. They find comfort in lies and delusions that excuse their shortcomings. Like Eren, they accept their failures as unavoidable and their shortcomings as natural, implying change is not only futile, but unnecessary. I've seen people act like this before. Hell, years ago, I've acted like this. I've been that kid who not only had shit social skills, but deluded myself into thinking I wasn't the issue. This is precisely why characters like Eren or Historia resonate with me, and perhaps with you too. Faced with overwhelming expectations, they refuse to become depressed or resentful. Instead, they embraced their authentic selves and grew into people that could bear the burden of those expectations on their own terms. The Uprising arc is a real testament to what purpose entails. Expectations, burdens, difficulties, but also change, satisfaction and fulfillment.